Another day, another NBA slate here at, so I first have to check the mic to make sure it's on, here at Splash Play NBA. It's a short slate today. It's one with a lot of Q tags, and lately I've been getting killed by injuries, so I would say we're due for some good news on this one. We're going to do what we always do here on the Splash Play NBA channel. We're going to dig into my projections compared to some of the industry leaders out there like Stokastic and like our friends at Unabated. We're also going to see what the top bets are right now at Unabated. We're also going to see what the best simmed lineups are, and Stokastic's been crushing the DFS sim. So in this video, you'll know my splash plays. You'll know all the must plays for today's February 27th NBA slate. Let's get into it. Your Q tag tweet for the day, courtesy of Underdog. We got Anthony Edwards, Dante DiVincenzo, 2 key Timberwolves questionable right now. In addition to Rudy Gobert out, Julius Randle out. Bradley Beal, questionable for Phoenix. PJ Washington, important one for Dallas. Cole Anthony, an important one for Orlando. Jalen Suggs already ruled out. Dwight Powell, questionable too. LaMelo Ball, also downgraded to questionable, was present at shoot-around. If he didn't go today, that would certainly open things up again. It'd be another potential Damian Bowles spot, our boy from the other day, who greatly outperformed your other shitty chalk, Vince Williams. Let's get into projections here. Shout out to the chat as well. Appreciate you guys being here live. Hello, Spags. Ready for some splash plays. Keep up the good work. Thank you for that. And Jake here. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate all you guys who watch live or after the fact. And if you are watching, please make sure to hit the like button. Subscribe goes a long way here as I am fighting the YouTube algorithm teeth and nail here every day because I'm getting more click-throughs than ever. They're giving me so few impressions. So it really does matter. I don't know if it's an SEO thing because now I don't have words on the thumbnails. Just trying some different stuff out here. Please do hit the like button. Please subscribe. It tells YouTube this show matters and you enjoy it. And it'll hopefully show it to people like you. So help a brother out. Your top objective plays on the day, though. Number one for me, Nikola Jokic, getting him in 15% of lineups. The field's at 14. Stokastic actually rerun their minutes right before the show, so praise to the heavens whenever that happens. I don't have to redo things myself too much. But Nikola Jokic, I had lower here. Now, if you're going to give him 36 minutes, he looks pretty good. There are definitely some other players who are getting more as your pay-up option. Giannis at under 11K. I'm going to be getting in a lot of my sim top 150 lineups here using that Stokastic sim. But as it is right now, Nikola Jokic, top projected guy. And I think if I reran my sim, I'd probably get a bit more, even though I am technically above the field here with a 15% ownership in my top 150. Field's at 14. Giannis Antetokounmpo, getting him in 60% of my lineups right now. I also have a much higher projected than Stokastic at 62.1 compared to 57.6. I get the same thing for Jokic as well. I have him about 5 fantasy points higher than Stokastic, but actually, let me make sure I have that right. One sec, because I think their data might have moved around a little bit for their own projections as well. That said, for Giannis, the biggest thing that jumps out to me, his rates go sky high in time without Chris Middleton and without Bobby Portis. Obviously, both guys are now out of the rotation at this point for Milwaukee. So Kuzma coming in, by the way, people for a while, they were playing a lot of Kyle Kuzma. It made sense in games where Giannis was out, where Damian Lillard was out. For the most part, though, Kuzma's usage has been down. His rebound rate's been down. His assist upside has been down. And that includes court time without Middleton, obviously, who's never been on the team with Kuzma, and Bobby Portis as well, who was on the team with Kuzma and theoretically taking some opportunity away from him in most of those spots. I would say that Giannis really based on the rate data, and I'll give you in a moment. I'm just trying to paste everything back in here so we can try to get Stokastic's updated stuff. There we go. I have their updated minutes, but not their updated projections, and I would like to accurately reflect. There you go. You saw it move here. So Stokastic's still 4.5 points higher on Jokic. 4.3 points higher, I guess also about 4.5 on Giannis. So I am higher projecting Jokic. I'm more highly projecting Giannis today than Stokastic is. I think they are both worth paying up a lot. Giannis's price tag to me also seems, I would say, comically low at 10.7. The match versus Milwaukee today, one where their team total, I know is not a bad one. It is one of the higher ones of the slate at 118.8. Overall, the game total versus Denver, 241 implied points. Maybe it's hard to afford it, but a Jokic and Giannis pairing, I think, could be something to try out if you can make it work. Luka Doncic at number 3. So Luka, I've basically made it so the Lakers rates gave them the rate data from their last 2 games. So the Denver game, the Dallas game, in which it seems like there's been sort of a switch flipped for usage for Luka Doncic. Basically, in these 2 games, LeBron is not getting assists at all. LeBron has a 20.5% assist rate, still averaging 1.4 fantasy points a minute, 30% usage, not a bad play. But he's basically not playing pure point guard anymore. All the assists are flowing to Luka right now. In the last 2 games, it's only been 65 minutes, so it's not in a safe sample size in terms of what we're looking for here. We want about 550 possessions for the rates to start to stabilize. It's only 140 possessions, so we're not, I'm not like as confident in this as I would like to be. As we talked about in the last video, when Luka played Dallas, obviously in that big revenge spot. These last two games, Luka's averaged 2 fantasy points per minute. The rates are not too far off where he was when he was playing, the 23 minutes, 25 minutes he did when he first debuted for the Lakers. So I think the rates, they're going to hold. LeBron's assist rate being so low is a little bit odd to me, but frankly, having watched LeBron enough this year, he's now just kind of like a big power forward. Like, he's not really point guard distributing LeBron as much. He'll still throw the swing passes. He'll still kick it out to the corner and things like that from, throw it to the opposite side of the court sometimes. He'll still get some assists, but it's not the same LeBron as it was. A lot of also deferring to other guys to bring the ball up the court so we can kind of conserve energy. So I think for LeBron, I think this is right to have him come down a little bit, Luka come up a little bit. That's my defense of it. I still would rather play Giannis on paper, but I do think Luka's a valid play. I think this is actually your best slate for pay-up options here, where there aren't a lot of slates where Jokic, Giannis, and Luka all look pretty good. I think if I'm giving these guys the rates the way we're talking about here, they all look pretty good to me, and I think they're all worth playing to some extent today. And I am technically above the field on all three, so that's where I am right now with these guys. Talk about Kyle Anderson, Slow-Mo's phenomenal. So that was 1-2, and that's, frankly, for me, I should have had more risk aversion in my projections. Stuff like Denny Avdia getting hurt, like that killed a third of my lineups. That fucking sucked. But Slow-Mo being out, number one, tilted me a lot because I still had a couple lineups that put up 330 points with the fucking 0 from Slow-Mo. That was tough, though, because it was more like, the lesson to learn from that was certain coaches are just delicate geniuses and they need to change things. And granted, Slow-Mo got abused in the 2 minutes he was on the court. They started switching guys onto him, like Trey switched onto him. I think it was LeVert who switched onto him, took it to the rack against him, like Slow-Mo couldn't defend him, also committed a bad foul. I think botched a pass too, didn't get credited with the turnover. So like he committed like 4 pretty bad sins in that 2-minute thing. But then basically the minute that Slow-Mo was out, Haywood Highsmith came in. He's more your defensive stopper. And he at then 3K, I think, put up almost 30 fantasy points. Might put up even more than that. He went absolutely nuts. Number one, there's your DFS principle there. Guy with unstable minutes coming off the bench, as we always talk about here. Starters you can trust. Guys off the bench, you can expect them to get minutes, and sometimes coaches will take you around. That was like a double whammy too, where it's like you also had the guy who then took over his minutes be good. The other guy who also gained minutes from Anderson not gaining more was Davion Mitchell, which we talked about in yesterday's stream. He also put up 33 fantasy points. So you had 2 guys that directly hurt Slow-Mo, Kyle Anderson yesterday. And then also you happened because the coach jerked him around and the minutes were unstable. So really, we're like a very important DFS lesson in there, and one that I will, I'm sure, struggle to impart when actually playing slates every day. Besides that here, Luka Doncic, he's lower. He's not on the screen, I guess. Let me see. I have Franz here at 41.8, so he is not as high as these other guys. Anthony Edwards here, questionable tag on him. If he's out, I think Naz Reid's going to look incredibly good. Naz Reid has been a monster in court time without Rudy Gobert and without Julius Randle. It's only been 560 possessions, but we're now getting that safe zone, averaging 1.3 fantasy points per minute, 24% usage rate, 14% rebound, 21% assist rate, basically up in every category. Naz Reid, to me, looks incredibly good. Anthony Edwards also looks pretty good. Really, if you get DiVincenzo out and you have Ant in, like these guys are going to look really strong here. But basically, Minnesota's rotation, when you don't have Randall in there, we've talked about it before, they do kind of consolidate usage for the remaining guys. No surprise there. But when you take Gobert out, like it really becomes like a 2-man team with Anthony Edwards and Naz Reid. Both guys averaging for Naz, as I mentioned, 1.3 fantasy points a minute. For Ant, 1.4. Jade McDaniels also about 1 fantasy point per minute, and he'll play high 30s minutes. Those guys become like all really appealing options if you were to get DiVincenzo out. And if DiVincenzo's in, I think they're still pretty good plays. But Naz Reid above the field on, Anthony Edwards above the field on by a little bit. So far I'm above the field on everybody. Where are we going to pull from here? Trey Murphy, another big stand for me. So the court time without Brandon Ingram, without DeJounte Murray, Trey Murphy's been not the best player on the team. That's still definitely Zion, averaging 1.6 fantasy points per minute. Trey Murphy averages 1.2 fantasy points per minute, along with 56% true shooting. Is that right? Yeah. So about 27% usage, 25% assist rate. He's been really good. Zion's now the lead point guard. So the assist upside that Murphy's had in the past maybe starts to come down a little bit. But every time I get Trey Murphy when people are out, and now you also add on top, it's a rest day for Kelly Olynyk. No Bruce Brown today. Rotation constricting. Brandon Boston, he just converted to a 2-year deal. He's also out today. So good minutes for Murphy. Not a bad price tag. These guys all look pretty good to me. This is where we start to fall off a cliff a little bit. Kyrie Irving, I am low on. LeBron, I am low on by a lot here. He is kind of suffering rate-wise from Luka taking over more. If the assist upside's not there for LeBron, he doesn't crash the boards as hard, which he's not really doing this year overall, even though the rates with Luka is maybe rebounding a little bit more as kind of the role shifts. Don't trust LeBron to the 10K price tag either. And Luka's not highly enough owned where you want to squint your eyes and force your way to LeBron to try to get leverage there. So LeBron, to me, not really in play. Low on Damian Lillard, who just doesn't gain as much rate-wise from not having Middleton and not having Bobby Portis out there. A lot of it flows to Giannis's way, where his usage comes up about 5%. Damian Lillard, pretty much flat. So would say that Lillard, to me, having half the field here feels okay. And a little bit less than half the field on Devin Booker. A little bit under the field on Kevin Durant. So I am pulling from this next tier of guys, going heavily here. And for your Franz Wagners and whatever, I'm not really there either. So the 8K range, to me, kind of invisible. Everything is for me is getting spent up here. What am I getting as value? Spend up. Let's find that out. Sort by value. Got our guy Steven filing in. I appreciate that. And guys, if you're just joining in here now, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Again, YouTube is making it difficult lately, even though I'm putting up really cool thumbnails. I think these thumbnails clean, easy. People don't like to read words in their thumbnail, but for whatever reason, I'm just like stalling out. So please hit the like button, please subscribe. I know it's not the content. I appreciate your guys' positive feedback generally. I look at the data and I'm like, why are they just not showing me to more people? So please hit the like button, please subscribe. It does go a long way. Your top values. So Naz Reid, again, I'm probably overprojecting him a little bit, but with Stokastic giving him 38 minutes here, not really playing any other backup centers meaningfully. Naz Reid looks great. So 25% of my lineups have him. The field's at 17%. Giannis, despite him being one of your higher dollar guys on the slate, I'm getting 2x the field on him, and he's technically a top value. So right now, there's not your screaming 3K value. The closest that you'll get to that is going to be AJ Green, the man in the thumbnail, Bull at 5K. He's also a pretty good value. But really in the spot here, there aren't the great traditional values you get here. It's more, to me, some of these guys, their price tags still look like great values, despite the price tag, frankly, for Naz Reid, for Trey Murphy, for Jade McDaniels. Price tag feels rich, but I still think these guys look like good values based on the situations they're in. We got Giannis here. Again, still top value. Trey Murphy still top value. Jade McDaniels here at 6,900, playing just shy of 40 minutes lately for like Minnesota's just really running very classic, their old coach Tibbs kind of rotations. You can look at last game here. This obviously included OT, but Jade McDaniels, 42 minutes, including OT. You got Naz Reid playing 41 minutes, including OT. Getting DiVincenzo out, I think, stabilizes things a little bit overall. The point is that you're getting a lot of minutes going to Minnesota right now in a consolidated rotation. So these guys all look pretty good to me, and the price tags are definitely jarring here. If I were to critique anything, it's really like I'm not being price sensitive enough, I think, with this. Definitely giving these guys an elevated projection. And frankly, the total versus the Lakers either, only 110.8 implied points, not the highest on the slate. If you want to critique what I'm giving these guys projection-wise, I'm definitely a little bit high on Minnesota in a way that surprises me, just to be totally transparent about it. Max Christie playing good minutes lately for Dallas. As he talked about, he's playing like a better player in Dallas overall, but not really, a world beater by any stretch. 46% for the field feels like a lot. Getting him at 35 for me feels fine. Nikola Jokic, despite being a high dollar guy, also looks like a top value. Bull, we talked about PJ Washington with the Q tag. One of the top values technically, though I am getting half the field's exposure on him. Anthony Edwards getting a little bit more than the field. AJ Green getting 2x the field. I don't love it. AJ Green can certainly get hot. Obviously, competitive spot versus Denver. What does Denver give up in 3-point shooting? Denver allows 36% from deep, which is not bad, would be towards the higher end of the slate. But Milwaukee generally shoots 38.4%. So you're not really getting a 3-point boost. AJ Green, it's mostly the minutes. He's your value play. You can play anybody else in that range, and I really wouldn't be mad at you for it. But playing 30 minutes at 3,600 doesn't matter. So that's that. We're going to go game by game here, guys. Let's do it. And, you guys know the deal. I'll quickly pander between every segment. Subscribe, hit the like button. It really does matter a lot, even though I don't do a good enough job selling that here. And I need to keep fighting because fucking negotiating for stuff to grow the Splash Play business, it's a hassle. So I need to do a better job promoting. I'm probably going to start posting on Twitter again, even though I have given up my verified check because I'm not going to pay fucking Nazi camp for a blue check mark, even though I was so proud of my blue check mark back in the day. But anyway, that's what we're doing here. Please show some love if you can. Trying to grow this channel here. And of course, new streams on the NBA Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. every day, walking you through my data, comparing to some of the stuff out there, trying to make sure you're prepared, ready to go before the NBA unleashes chaos on us as it always does. And I will be on Stokastic after this one as well in the deeper dive. And yes, the puppet probably be forced to be brought out by my pal Eric Lindquist. So tune in there as well. Golden State, 108.5 implied points. No Kuminga again here. So same thing as always been basically for Golden State. At this point, Blue Sky is too corny for me, to be honest. So, I don't know. I really don't want to do on either, but it is what it is. Either way, Golden State, 108.5 implied points. Not a lot of ownership going here. Steph Curry at 3%. I'm getting 5. Jimmy Butler at 8%. I'm getting 5. Bajemski at 6% or 6.5%. I'm getting that same number basically. A little bit low on Draymond Green, which has been the case since Jimmy Butler came in, producing well. Bajemski also not losing enough rate-wise to worry about him. Moses Moody getting 2x the field on him as an okay value. Projected to play about 30 minutes. Don't have a lot of love for him as a 0.82 fantasy point per minute guy who I'd have even lower today. But 30 minutes is 30 minutes. Same thing as AJ Green that we talked about. Really, Golden State, not a great total here. Tough matchup, but nobody's going to play him on a 5-game slate. So it's really your main reason to go here. If you get some, take it. But you probably don't want a lot of Golden State because Orlando finds ways to ugly up everything with their low pace. And it is a pace down spot for Golden State. Orlando, 104 implied points. We got Franz Wagner here. I'm not really there. He's still a 5x value to me, and technically I have him about 0.6 fantasy points higher than Stokastic, but not a must-have play to me. I think I'm in 7% of my lineups in the field's at 12. Paolo Banchero, I'm getting 5% in my top 150 compared to the field's 15. Really no big leans here, as I've said more than enough times. If Franz and Banchero are the same price tag, I would favor Franz a little bit, but really they're functionally kind of the same play. Cole Anthony, Q tag on him would open things up for Anthony Black a little bit more if he were to be out. If he's in, he looks like he's worth about 6 to 10% ownership. Don't love Cole Anthony here, but he's coming up a little, and I do have him technically a little bit higher projected than Stokastic does. Wendell Carter, at this point, he's kind of priced where he should be. Not a bad play, not a good play. 13% for me, which is slightly lower than the field. No big stands there. Gonna need some more value to go to Jokic and Giannis. Only 2 out of 150. Jokic and Giannis. Giannis and Luka is a little bit easier to afford. Yeah, I mean, the head-to-head part's definitely get appealing. I do think people will try to find a way to play that no matter what, because obviously your 2 highest scorers in the game should be really your marquee game on the slate. People are going to get to Jokic and Giannis, I think. But Denver here, even if the projections don't allow it, people will probably get there through forcing builds. Denver, 122.3 implied points. Milwaukee, 118.8 on their side. Denver, as we talked about, getting more than the field of Jokic, and I think that's going to come higher for me because my projection's now higher. I think from them moving their data around. Jamal Murray, 15% for the field. I'm getting 2. That's always pretty much the case this year for Jamal Murray. He'll spike randomly. I'm never there. But I think it's worked out well for me to not be there that often on Jamal Murray this year. Michael Porter Jr., I'm higher on by 0.6 than Stokastic, so not as big of a discrepancy as my Jokic projection being 4.5 points higher, but getting him in about a quarter of my lineups, so pretty much with the field on that. Christian Brown, I'm not there. A little bit lower on my projection and my ownership, half the field. Russell Westbrook, a little bit higher than the field on, but barely flat in my projection. And Aaron Gordon, I'm 3% lower or 3% higher than the field. My projection is 0.7 higher. Really not any big stands here besides me liking Jokic more than Stokastic has been for the day. Milwaukee on their side. I mean, it really just depends. Like if you can pass over that 8K range, and I think that for me, projection-wise, it's not too hard to do. I think it could work out. But it all comes down to the builds. We'll see what we get, obviously, when you run the Sims in a moment. Milwaukee, 118.8 implied points. Giannis getting him at 2x the field now. I think I'll get less when the Jokic projection updates when I rerun a sim, but I think he looks good. To me, getting kind of comparable amounts today of Jokic, Giannis, and Luka will probably be the move in my set of lineups I put in tonight. But I think the lean right now, Giannis is a little bit cheap. And as I talked about here, he really does gain the most rate-wise from not having Middleton and not having Portis out there. And Kuzma's not really taking over the slack, but Giannis averaging almost 1.7 fantasy points per minute. We're getting not quite into Jokic territory. Frankly, not even into Luka territory these last 2 games of the Lakers, where, as I mentioned, he's been averaging 2 fantasy points per minute. But you're close enough here in a competitive spot. And a home game for Milwaukee as well. Like I think Giannis at 10-7. Similar upside as the other guys, as the other, big high dollar pay up options. Damian Lillard getting half the field on him, a little bit low on Brook Lopez. As talked about, Kyle Kuzma has just shown to me nothing rate-wise. He's legit down in every category since joining Milwaukee, and that includes the games where he had carte blanche to get as many shots up as he wants, to get as many rebounds as he wants. Kuzma, I just think is done. I mean, maybe not done. He's young enough where he can maybe have a second life, but like this season, I really think he has played like one of the worst players in the NBA. 50% true shooting under that. 0.76 fantasy points minutes where I would have Matt, counting for his Milwaukee rates without Portis and without Middleton. I think Kuzma is like one of my least favorite players in the league, who actually was directly taking minutes away from one of my favorite fantasy players in the league, Bobby Portis. And also my favorite guy. So if you need somebody to punch you get punched in the face, I think Bobby Portis, top of the charts as well. But Kuzma low on here. I guess if he were to hit today, it would theoretically pull from AJ Green. Same thing for Taurean Prince. If these guys had better production, AJ Green gets less opportunities, maybe more, maybe a few less minutes. So that's the one reason I think to go to Kuzma, but I legit have him as under a 4x value here. Green, I don't love, but he's here. 0.63 fantasy points a minute average. He shoots well. Denver swinging the ball around. Hopefully he gets some threes. Carte blanche, we love when you speak French. Yes, that's not really a fancy French phrase for anything like that, but we do the best we can. What's the league average for true shooting? I don't know what that would be offhand. I could probably find it. God, why do you guys make me do these esoteric questions when I'm in a fucking flow and you know that I feel compelled to answer your questions? Tango Hotel, you should have to pay for a membership for doing this to me. All right, advanced stats here. Let's go down because I think I have averages at the bottom. Hopefully I do. Nope, I don't. I would have to go to Basketball Reference. You fucking son of a bitch. I'm not AI, just for the record. I am an actual person who has needs and wants and doesn't want to look up data, but now we're all curious. All right, so the average here for true shooting in the league is 57%. So obviously including all the bigs, all the guards and all that. For me, the mark you want to have to think a player is good is 60%. If a guy is like high 50s with high usage, that's cool. But 60% or better is really kind of where you want to be. So that's it. But yeah, true shooting, one of the most important metrics, and it's a way that I grade out everything I do. College players, I look them up. Same thing here. I actually was the other day up late, was looking through old players' numbers. And frankly, LeBron and Steph Curry's numbers in hindsight, boy, those guys, high true shooting, high usage, did it for a bunch of years. I think their historical greatness, even I sometimes sleep on a little bit. Anyway, there you go. There's our deviation here. Charlotte, 105.8 implied points. I got nothing right now. Even with my usual Bridges boost from having no Brandon Miller, nothing looks that good here. You did have last game Nurkic not playing, Diabate playing the backup role. Nurkic is now a Q tag today. Stokastic seemingly doesn't know what to do with the minutes, so 11 is the minutes for Diabate, 14 for Nurkic. They're basically both backups to Mark Williams. Nobody really has upside at center at this point. Mark Williams too high priced from that run that he went on when there were no other centers and he was going nuts. These guys here, I think, are appropriately priced if you had Mark Williams out, but he's not going to be out today. So to me, for Charlotte, you need LaMelo out. If LaMelo's out, I'll be back on Miles Bridges' world. I'll probably get KJ Simpson was your winner last game. Damian Bow was okay value. I think those guys will look okay. Elfrid Payton seemingly working his way out of the rotation. Don't go there, as I warned last game, and then he just didn't play. But yeah, at this point, Charlotte not looking good. Would look better if you get LaMelo out. And the total here, almost 11-point dogs. That feels like a middle ground for LaMelo not playing, so I don't really have a lean. I think that might be the line. If LaMelo played, it's probably like 9 and change, maybe. So yeah, I think that's about right for LaMelo right now, his uncertain status. And LaMelo was at shoot around, as I mentioned earlier, but still Q tag, and was a midday downgrade at Q tag. So he might have been at shoot around. They saw he wasn't looking good, and then they downgraded him. So keep that in mind. Dallas, what birds aren't real, and neither are pandas. Okay. I don't think there's a lot of people that want an AI model of me, for the record, but more power to you. People don't even want to watch the real version's content. I don't know if they want to listen to the AI version. Dallas, but a bot that does best ball team reviews. That I can get behind. Dallas, 16.3 implied points on their side. Nobody looks that good for me. One thing that jumped out when going through the rate data. So Kyrie Irving taking off some of the guys that are normally not available for Dallas. In particular, though, focusing on the court time without Luka and also without Quentin Grimes. Kyrie actually hasn't been that great with those two guys off the court. Kyrie's only been up at about 27% usage, 19% assist rate, which is actually down under his season average, 1.1 fantasy points per minute. So Kyrie, my issue is that I don't think he's the player we get on the upside games where, like, when he's playing Minnesota, he's taking every possession going nuts. He's playing the Lakers, he's taking every possession going nuts. When he's playing Charlotte, he just doesn't do a whole lot out there. And I think that's what the rate's telling me a little bit, is that, number one, there's just generally some downside here that he's not just hogging every possession, giving you that fantasy upside you want to see. But also that, like, I've seen it firsthand in games where, like, the Washington game versus Dallas a couple, maybe a month ago at this point, where it was Kyrie getting full unencumbered run and he just gave the ball to everybody else in that game, didn't do a whole lot. I'm not sold as a Kyrie spot. He's 10% owned, so you can take your shots, projected to play 38 minutes. But the rates just don't really support going crazy on Kyrie, and I'm going to warn you guys that he just doesn't look like that great overall in the court time. And sometimes that works out, like De'Aaron Fox, I've talked about a few times, and he's hit the downside after we talked about that. That's sort of how I feel about Kyrie today. But the 10% own, whatever. PJ Washington, 32% for the field. I'm low on him. He's a Q tag. If he's out, you get more minutes for Kessler Edwards, more minutes for Exum. Nobody becomes like a big winner, more minutes for Najee Marshall. But I don't think any of them look great. Klay Thompson, never a play for me, but getting 11%, fields at 12. Max Christie usually is a play for me, but I'm getting less in the field, 35% compared to 46. Think he's okay, though. If he doesn't start, your minutes, we get a little bit riskier there. But if he starts, he falls in the stats enough. Just not, doesn't do a whole lot of anything. I do have him at a 0.9 fantasy point per minute pace today. Najee Marshall, I'm getting over 3x the field on. I don't love that if he doesn't start. It's a pretty big stand for me, but he's fine. Dallas, I think you're going to get Christie and Marshall in lineups a good amount. I have no issue with it. Just if one of them starts, make sure to downgrade them accordingly. But Najee at least looks low owned. I guess your ideal situation here would be you get a flip on it with Max Christie coming off the bench and Najee starting, and then you go over on Najee, come under a little bit on Max Christie, and hope he hits off the bench. That's one way that could work out. And Dante Exum I'm getting too here. So I don't really get why, but it is what it is. Slate without a lot of great values and pay up options I need. So I think that's probably why. New Orleans, 114.5 implied points. Phoenix, 121.5 on their side. Getting a good amount for the field here of New Orleans. My biggest stand, though, is Trey Murphy. We talked about in the beginning of the video. Minutes are good. The rate data does support him getting a pretty big bump up and usage and assist upside in court time without DeJounte Murray and without Brandon Ingram. Zion is now, as I mentioned enough times on stream here, hopefully. He's literally your point guard for New Orleans, running the offense on more plays than not. But Trey Murphy still does have historically a good amount of assist upside, takes that kind of secondary pass, does some stuff with it, either getting his own shot up or creating for somebody else. So Trey Murphy playing high minutes. I like him against 7,900 and shooting guard, small forward eligibility. No issue with Zion either, though I only have 5% of him compared to the field's 10. McCollum, I'm lowest on here, 11% for the field. I'm at 3. Really not a fantastic total for New Orleans either. But, these guys are all fine, I think. 20% for Yves Missy. I'm with that. Alvarado, 20% rounded up. I'm at 17. Carlo Matkovic is the one I'm not getting. I think he went nuts last game. Only 25 minutes doesn't really get me there, but if they were to give him more minutes than the projection, I'd probably get there a little bit more. Hawkins, I'm low on. It's a short rotation, as you can see here, only a 10-man rotation. So you can take your shots at these guys, and clearly the field is going to. I just think, to me, Murphy is the best play of the group. We got Phoenix, 121.5 implied points. And I'm going to highlight these spots more in every stream because, frankly, it came through the Utica day where I talked about one game, and I'm like, you know what? These guys don't project well enough, but like the Vegas total would make you want to believe these are players you should play. Phoenix is that today. People aren't going to play Durant that much, 9% owned. I'm getting him at 7% of lineups. The projection's not great. Devin Booker, 20% owned. That's a little bit closer. I'm getting him in 8% of my lineups. I'm not there really. Bradley Beal, 17% owned. I'm getting him in 12. Bol is a chalk. Realistically here, if Bol, if he were to be okay, or if he were especially were to fail, you're going to get more production going to these guys. Just naturally how it would work. If Bol underperforms, the stats flow somewhere else. Somebody else then, performs well, because this Vegas total is going to be very likely to get hit or, be somewhere in that range. So I would say today, especially, number one of your better totals on the slate, besides the Denver-Milwaukee game, basically. Number two, not a ton of ownership here. This is kind of the game where you ignore, maybe don't ignore the projections, but I was trying to figure out before the show if there's some way I could do it in my data just for myself. Like, if a game is top 5 in Halliburton, yesterday would be another one. If the game is like top 5 in team total and there isn't really a a great projection going on there. I would like to give these guys a boost to just get some. Because like the Vegas total is really what matters the most. Like if you have one of the highest Vegas totals in the slate, you're likely to be in a high scoring game. You might even get lucky and get in a high scoring game for both sides of the equation. So I would say that for, these guys on Phoenix right now, it's not a lot of ownership. And assuming that Beal plays, as the chat's talking about right now, Beal was a midday downgrade to questionable. But if Beal is out, obviously it's going to get more obvious to go to Durant, to go to Booker. If Beal is in though, that's it. That's not how that goes, Doug. And Doug, you've been wrong about this before. If you think I forgot, don't forget. Point being, though, there's no guarantee that a midday downgrade is a midday downgrade. It decreases the probability, but it's still a sliding scale of probability. We'll look what the probability is at unabated, but if I have to guess, they probably have it at 50% or 45% still. Besides that, Bull looking okay here no matter what. Playing starter level minutes. As long as he's announced a starter, you should be good to take him no matter what. I think Ship My Money, my old pal at Stokastic, pointed that out on Twitter, that you probably shouldn't be projecting him for 20 or less minutes at this point because he's a starter. He's getting starter minutes. Basically, at this point for Bull, he's your value on the slate. He was the obvious one in the morning. He's going to be a chalk play that people get to a lot. And if he starts, he's good to go. If he doesn't start, though, you probably want to consider swapping off them because he's been very obvious chalk since the moment the data came out this morning. For me and in general, like when anybody put data together this morning, Bull pops. So just keep that in mind. Like he has been, when guys have been the chalk from the moment the data starts to the moment the slate begins, the ownership ends up kind of crazy if better value doesn't open up. I remember, Doug. I know all. I see it. I don't know all. I don't know all. I don't see all, but I do retain enough. We got Minnesota, 110.8 implied points on their side. I think we have talked enough about Minnesota here on the slate. They all look a lot better overall as a result. Okay. Doug, if you're going to try to downpour or downgrade what we're talking about here, I think you're missing the point of the exercise in the first place. What is that? It's about minutes and opportunity, which is what we talk about. It's not whatever you're trying to do to cope is not what matters. Minnesota here, though, just take the lesson and move and to get something from it would be all I'd ever recommend for anything in life, myself included. Anthony Edwards here looking good. Nas Reed looking good. Jaden McDaniels looking good. I think they all look pretty good. That said, this is the exact opposite situation what we talked about with Phoenix here, where it's a low total. Like 110.8 implied for Minnesota is not that great. And you're getting a lot of these guys. I'm getting a lot of these guys in the projections. So maybe one of those things to be more mindful of not going, whole hog here. But if God forbid you get Ant out, I think you got to play whoever's left. If you get Ant DiVincenzo out, you absolutely have to play Nas, McDaniels, Alexander Walker, Conley or Dillingham. They're all going to matter here because Ant would vacate so many possessions. DiVincenzo as well would vacate so many possessions. DiVincenzo not expected to get a lot of minutes coming off of obviously like a multi-month injury at this point. But if you wanted to take a shot on him returning to full run of minutes here, maybe you could do that. His rates actually look pretty good as well without Gobert and Randall, who are already both ruled out today. And last but not least here, the Lakers, and we're a little bit after 4:30. We're not too bad today. Give me a short slate. I could make this video work on time. Lakers 117.3 implied points, as I talked about here, gave the boost to, oh, you know what? This is the banner for the NFL show. Good point. Good point by CJ. There you go, banner gone. Yeah, the NFL. I did an NFL stream earlier today. If you want to see what's going on in NFL fantasy football, doing best ball drafts in February, go check out the Splash Play NFL channel at Splash Play Pod. But it stayed up automatically, and I didn't realize it was on. So Lakers here. Luka, if you give him the rates in the last two games, he looks like a good enough version of himself to play today. I would still put him behind Jokic. I'd put him behind Giannis. But I think he's still worth some exposure here. I'm getting 6% more than the field right now. LeBron, I'm low on here. He's the one who's suffering at the hands of Luka, kind of rounding into his true form, hopefully. You want to play LeBron? You can. You're not really getting great leverage on there. It is a low-pace spot versus Minnesota. Totally for the Lakers, not bad. But like you could play Luka, I think, as he is. Like you don't need to play LeBron to try to get leverage on Luka because I don't expect Luka to be very highly played. But LeBron here projects not that well for me. I think even if you gave him his normal rates, he wouldn't project that well. Salary's coming down though, and I feel like just functionally, if you want to get leverage on Luka for whatever reason, he'd be your way to get leverage on Luka. Austin Reeves not really there at his price tag. Dorian Finney-Smith, getting him as a value here. Again, just finding some cheap guys to try to pay for here. That's basically it. His question for the day is, will Alvarado start? Will he do something dumb like start Hawkins? Honestly, I don't really have a lean on it. The minutes are sort of going to look the same, I think, in a projection set anyway. See what it was last game. Last game, Alvarado off the bench, came in and played all the backup minutes for McCollum, it looks like. So my expectation would be, think you would get a Hawkins start. Because when Olynyk went out, so Olynyk and Zion went out, I'll pull up the tab. When Olynyk and Zion went out, it was Bruce Brown and Hawkins coming in. So theoretically, you would expect Hawkins to come in for the Olynyk minutes, which used to be the case for, I know. Fucking Doug, man. You, when in doubt, I would say trust that I know. Point being is what I'm saying is Olynyk being out likely means that it would have been one or Bruce Brown coming in for him as a starter. My guess is that it would be Hawkins who plays more minutes. There's a chance that it could be Carlo Matkovic, but Matkovic generally, he only played the backup minutes behind Eve Missy last game. So my thought would be it would be Eve Missy, Zion, McCollum, Murphy, and Hawkins, and then Alvarado playing again, backup 2 minutes / maybe some backup 2 and backup 1. But I think that's how that looks. Anyway, Unabated, the part of the video where we give you guys some good bets coming up now. Let's learn all about conditional NBA projections and how Kelly Olynyk is not playing today, thanks to the courtesy of this video here from our friends at Unabated. Check it out. Of course, Unabated, great data. Justin, fan of the team over there. They do put a lot of work in, and just having the thoughts of 3 people coming together, always going to help you out there. 3 great basketball minds creating the data Unabated every day. Dynamic projections when guys are questionable. They create 2 sets of projections. The guys matter on a slate, so that's the big thing we have going there. Of course, you know what you're going to get here on the screen in a moment. These are graphs. We all love graphs here at the Splash Play channel, but in particular, these are distributions of bets. So you're running a sim to see how your bet would place. It's a really important thing to have for yourself if you want that level of detail. Expert Game Day live streams. Again, Justin Fan and the crew there. You get some chats. Unabated is worth your money. You'll be counting your money with them. You can see this graph on the screen here showing the winnings you would have if you placed every bet 30 minutes before tip-off. There's a 5% or higher sim ROI with a $100 unit. You'd be up over $40,000. You placed every bet when the conditional projections release, which is every day at 4:30 p.m. You'd be up another $38,000 based on their numbers. So, and again, that's if you're putting down $100 units, if you're hitting in every bet. But really, it just shows to tell you what, like, if you do the work on betting, you use good data and tools, whether it's Unabated, some of the other ones that we talk about sometimes, and really only the ones I talk about here. That's what I would give that cosign to. But if you're willing to do and just click and get your entries in, get your bets in, get your slips in, you will do well in betting with Unabated. And that's really, you can't say that for a lot of products out there. And I know it sounds like the sales pitch you get from idiots on TikTok, but trust me when I tell you, Unabated will change your life in betting. If you want to start to earn a bankroll that can help you do more in gambling, so check it out. Promo code SPLASH and Unabated. Click the link in the description. You get 20% off. All right, here's our projection set. You can see the Q tag guys here. So we have different projection sets for Cole Anthony, LaMelo Ball, Bradley Beal, Anthony Edwards, and PJ Washington being out. Of course, we don't touch those here. You can go check them out for yourself if you want to pay for a membership and see the conditional stuff. We're just going to focus on the teams that we know we have access to with no Q tags. They're going to upset things right now. Yes, we got War Chance and Graphs. There we go. Yeah, happy to hear, Doug. Look, it's all, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. But I appreciate you asking questions, trying to correct me. It's Unabated. Yes, Unabated knows that DeJounte Murray is out. They haven't updated the video, unfortunately. If only they had an AI thing to run over it, then they could say DeJounte Murray, mark him out every slate. All right. But one day he'll be back. All right, we got Jackson Hayes, your best points bet right now, over 6.5 points on Jackson Hayes. Plus 105 odds on DraftKings Sportsbook is the only place you should play it, because you have an 11.4% EV on DraftKings Sportsbook. You want to place these ones with the 1% one. Again, you want a 5% or higher sim EV here to get the results that Unabated shows you. So check it out for yourself. Michael Porter Jr., that is. Michael Porter Jr. over 16.5 points, minus 106 odds on FanDuel is your best bet. Gets you 9.5% EV. Still bettable on DraftKings, but you probably don't want it on PrizePicks and Underdog. So Michael Porter Jr. Looking okay here for over 16.5 points. Gabe Vincent, under 5.5 points, looking good on DraftKings Sportsbook. The under on 5.5 points at minus 105 odds for Gabe Vincent, 8.5% EV. Also bettable on FanDuel, but you don't want on your Pick'em site. So that's how that looks right now. Jimmy Butler, under 19.5 points, looking best on PrizePicks, not available on Underdog. Still good on DraftKings as well. So Jimmy Butler, under 19.5 points, getting you about 8% EV on PrizePicks and a rounded up 8% EV on DraftKings Sportsbook. Jimmy Butler, under 19.5 points. Aaron Gordon Jr., 8.1% EV on over 13.5 points. That's minus 105 odds on DraftKings Sportsbook. Still only on DraftKings for that one. So Aaron Gordon over 13.5, DraftKings only. Pick up sites. Tight lines today. Guy Santos, if you want to get this one to round it up here, over 4.5. You could start to pick them with this one. Maybe we'll get some better ones. But Guy Santos, over 4.5 points today. Looking good in your pick'em sites. Rebounds coming up next. Rebounds. And of course, on Unabated, you can see a lot more data for yourself. I also only show you the two pick'em sites, your two main pick'em sites, and your primary sports books. But you can get every sports book, all the data here, even Caesars, which I think they're having some issues with right now. But basically, all the books you need here are on Unabated. So keep that in mind. I need a sip of water here. Just dump it on myself in the hopes I get more views for wet t-shirts. We got Moses Moody over 3.5 rebounds here. Plus 110 odds on DraftKings Sportsbook. Looking good. 11.4% EV. You'd also take Moses Moody over 3.5 rebounds on FanDuel. Plus 106 odds gets you 9.3% EV. Not in your pick'em sites, though. So Moses Moody, DraftKings, and FanDuel over 3.5 rebounds. Looking good. Jimmy Butler under 6 rebounds. 10.6% EV for him. Looking good on PrizePicks. Also passable on DraftKings Sportsbook, where you got under 5.5 rebounds for Jimmy Butler there at plus 105 odds, but nowhere else. So PrizePicks and old DraftKings Sportsbook for Jimmy Butler. We got Taurean Prince here, 9.4% EV and over 2.5 rebounds, minus 166. Wow, that's a lot of juice, but still plus EV despite all that juice for over 2.5 rebounds for Taurean Prince. Does play pretty big minutes for the team. Damian Lillard, 8.4% EV for him on your pick'em sites, and well, only on PrizePicks for Lillard over 3.5 rebounds. Surprised to see overs on rebounds for Prince and Lillard here. Now maybe they'll box out Giannis. Damian Lillard looking good for over 3.5 rebounds on PrizePicks. Bettable on FanDuel as well, over 3.5 at minus 122 odds. Draymond Green, 6.7% EV for Draymond, minus 115 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook, over 5.5 rebounds for him. Good on PrizePicks as well, 5.5% EV, and you can take it on DraftKings as well if you need it, over 5.5 rebounds for Draymond Green at minus 120 odds. Eve Missy, under 8.5 rebounds, plus 100 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook, gets you 4.8% EV, and Zion we probably don't want. Splash play to Splash Dance, yes. Honestly, Splash Dance would not be a bad spin-off version of like a, I don't know, a channel that I would do covering 80s dance movies, I guess. We got our assist props coming up here. Brandon Pajem, which is not in my interest level and not part of the roadmap currently. Brandon Pajemski over 3.5 assists, plus 120 odds on DraftKings Sportsbook gets you 8.9% EV. Good on FanDuel as well, rounded up 8% EV there. So Pajemski over 3.5 assists looking good. As I've mentioned, his rates really haven't suffered as much as I would think for Jimmy Butler being in the rotation these days. Gary Trent, 7.4% EV for him, under 1.5 assists. That one is good at minus 180 odds on DraftKings. Wow, the most juice of any bet yet, but still 7.4% EV on that. That would be the bet if somebody were going to ask you, like, hey, you have to give me a plus EV bet or I'm going to kill you. If it hits, I won't kill you. This is probably it at minus 180. And it's also plus EV. We got Taurean Prince, or if you have a bonus bet, do that. Taurean Prince under 1.5 assists, plus 145 odds on DraftKings Sportsbook gets you 7% EV. You don't have it anywhere else, though. So Taurean Prince under 1.5 assists, only on DraftKings Sportsbook. Brooke Lopez under 1.5 assists, good to go. Also only on DraftKings Sportsbook, 6.7% EV. We got, oh, that would be good. Plus EV strip clubs. That could be it. Reviews on YouTube. Trey Murphy under over, could you imagine? Over 4. Alex, listen, I got this great idea. We're going to review strip clubs on YouTube. It's going to go great. Trey Murphy over 4.5 assists. Good to go on PrizePicks, not anywhere else, but I love Trey Murphy today. Over 4.5 assists for him. Looking good on PrizePicks, 6.5% EV. And Nikola Jokic, if you need to add one more on DraftKings, 4.8% EV for him, so rounded up 5. Under 9.5 assists for him today. And last but not least, our PRAs. We'll do our DFS sim, and then I'll hop over to the world of Stokastic to do the deeper dive coming up next. My pal Eric Lindquist, so stay tuned for that. And again, if you're joining right now, please do show some love here. Subscribe at the like button. New streams here every day, Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. And I always make sure to do the most work here on stream every day because I hate being wrong. I hate it's going to happen, obviously, no matter what. But, like I live this. Part of why I've been really comfortable just waiting out my Underdog deal with the NFL stuff is because I spend so much time in NBA every day obsessing over all this shit. And you get the benefit here on stream every day, whether you want to tail me or fade me. So please hit the like button, subscribe, do all that stuff. And do make sure to check out Unabated as well. Of course, you're getting their bets for free here on stream. You get a lot more for yourself and get a shot at winning the kind of money they show you with their back-tested data here on stream every day. So check it out. Link in the description for 20% off and Unabated. Gary Payton Jr., of course, over 7.5 PRA is looking good on Underdog, not anywhere else, but 11.7% EV on Gary Payton over 7.5 PRAs for the higher on Underdog. Jimmy Butler under 30.5 PRAs, 9.7% EV on your pick'em sites, 8.8% EV on DraftKings Sportsbook, not on FanDuel. I don't think we've had any that was available on all the books, right? That's rare, but Jimmy Butler here, 3 out of the 4. Under 30.5 PRAs, excuse me. Aaron Gordon over 22.5 PRAs, 9.2% EV on DraftKings, but not good to go on PrizePicks or Underdog. So Gordon, DraftKings only, over 22.5 PRAs. Kevon Looney, 8.7% EV on under 11.5 PRAs. That one is good on your pickup sites, PrizePicks and Underdog. Not good on your traditional sportsbooks, though. So Kevon Looney under 11.5 PRAs on pick'ems. Michael Porter Jr. over 25.5 PRAs, looking good at those -110 odds on DraftKings Sportsbook. Gets a 6.8% EV, but you get it nowhere else that good. Guy Santos over 9.5 PRAs for him, looking at your pick'em sites with 5.8% EV, but not available anywhere else. And I think no grand slams here. Draymond Green over 18.5 PRAs, 5.3% EV. Good to go on DraftKings at -120 odds, but you don't want it anywhere else. So those are your best bets right now. Lots more data to go off of here. If you want to try to take the most advantage, rule a Cole Anthony in. If he's got positive EV unders, bet his unders. And then if he doesn't play, or if he does play and gets hurt, then you can just reap that EV or get a void. And if guys are out, you want to mark them out, check the projection set. And then the moment the guy's officially ruled out, hop onto the highest EV bets for the guys that, are just ruled out. So if you want to get more out of Unabated, that's the way to do it. But check it out for yourself, really and truly. Like I don't know how much harder I can sell, but I really do think for a lot of you guys out there, if you are trying to find a way to be sustainable in DFS, betting is a big part of it. People used to say, I know Stokastic was a pitch as well, but people used to say playing cash games would be your way to keep afloat for, the general trading paint you do in GPPs every day. I think betting is a much more viable path these days, personally. Listen to Sotex. Yes, please like, subscribe, and join. And yeah, James Harden would love the Splash Dance channel. I would hope. I don't know. At this point with where his hairline is, maybe he's giving up the strip club days. James Harden is like the baldest man in the NBA. He's got like Matt Hasselbeck hairline right now. I can grow a longer beard and call myself James Harden for the strip club reviews. There we go. Hopefully my hairline's hanging in though. We're doing okay. I think having longer hair and pulling my hair back though has moved my hairline back slightly. I will admit that. Not why I wear a hat. I wear a hat because I don't want to have to do my hair every day and put it up, but it doesn't hurt. Cash games are brutal for NBA. I don't know if they're brutal. Honestly, I haven't played cash like regularly in years though. But they're not easy to win. I mean, with the amount of data you have now and the Sims tools, it was hard enough a couple of years ago. And I would still honestly, I always did pretty well in cash because cash is just kind of chasing ownership. And if you do this content every day, I think it's a lot easier to play cash games. Honestly, even more than GPPs. But yeah, anytime data sharpens up and you have more tools at people's disposal and you have a populous game that you're competing against half the field, I would bet the softest pockets of DFS now for cash games is probably really soft, but the median kind of performance in cash games, I have to imagine would be substantially higher because projections now are good anywhere you're going to get them from for the most part. Even me. We got, and of course, 20% off or 15% off on Stokastic here with the Sims tools. You want to do the thing I'm doing on screen right now. You get it for $1 for the next day as well. If you click down below, link in the description, it'll tell you where to go for Stokastic. And of course, promo code SPLASH on there as well. Jose Alvarado is your top ROI player. So even though he probably playing off the bench, does seem like Stokastic likes him. Jose Alvarado, Max Christie, Klay Thompson. So 2 Mavs wings, Bol, Nikola Jokic, Mike Conley, Naz Reid, and Carlo Makovic here. I couldn't get Carlo. He went nuts. I mean, he's gone nuts a couple times this year. But Carlo coming in number 1 here. Oh, wow. He might be in a few of these. Might be in a lot of these, actually. Number 2, Russell Westbrook, Jordan Hawkins, Klay Thompson, Jimmy Butler, Karlo Makovic, Luka Doncic, Bol and Naz Reid. I got to say, I'm not surprised by Karlo making it in lineups. I'm surprised by Klay being in the top 2 so far. Number 3, we have Devin Booker, Jordan Hawkins, Max Christie, Giannis, Brooke Lopez, CJ McCollum, Karlo Makovic, and Bol. And number 4, Jamal Murray, Klay Thompson, Zion, PJ Washington, Aaron Gordon, Max Christie, Bol, and Rui Hachimura. Tough to play Rui, man. His usage is down. That team, everybody's deferring to LeBron and Doncic, and they should. But I don't know about Rui. I guess you could buy in and hope that he sees some usage back and the rates stabilize. I would not trust Rui today. Cole Anthony, Max Christie, Zion Williamson, Karlo Makovic, PJ Washington, Jose Alvarado, Bol, and Anthony Edwards. Those are your top lineups here. Nothing stands out that I would disagree with. I guess I'm a little surprised there isn't more Jokic, Giannis. Got one Giannis in there, but not as much as I would have thought. Your top ROI players in Stokastic's top 150 lineups. We got Bol, negative 2% ROI. Don't worry about the negative numbers. It's about the directional accuracy. On a 5-game slate, you're going to have a lot of lineups with Bol that would appear negative, so just keep that in mind. We got Nikola Jokic here, negative 5% ROI. He's your number 2 guy. Naz Reid at number 3. Klay Thompson at number 4. Stokastic loving Klay Thompson. Jose Alvarado at number 5. Karlo Makovic at number 6. Max Christie number 7. So really not a surprise from the lineups we saw up top. I guess they didn't have Jokic in those 5 lineups, I don't think. Maybe he was in one of them, I think. But yeah, these guys look good. Exposures here are good according to Stokastic for what it's worth. Top exposed, wow. 90% Bol in Stokastic's top 150 lineups. No uniques on this one, so it's just taking the, basically, highest sim ROIs with nothing else on top of it. A lot of Bol. Max Christie, 72% exposure here, getting about 24% leverage on him compared to the field. Karlo Makovic, 48% exposure. So he's in about half Stokastic's lineups, about 17% leverage compared to the field's ownership. Naz Reid, 39% exposure compared to the field's 17. So 22% leverage on there. PJ Washington, 39% of Stokastic's top 150 lineups. That's compared to 31%. So about 8% positive leverage for PJ Washington. Giannis, 34% exposure compared to the field's 27. You're getting about 7% leverage on there. And Jose Alvarado, I think I would have questions about Alvarado with the backup stuff that Doug, I think, cleverly brought up before. But Alvarado here, 33% exposure compared to the field's 19. Your highest leverage guys in Stokastic's top 150, no surprises, based on the same guys we saw in a different order. Bol, 51% more than the field. He's going to be played 40% of the time. And Stokastic thinks he should be in basically every lineup because there is not great value on the slate. And Bol is seemingly locked into run at this point. Max Christie, 24% leverage. Again, 72% of lineups with him. Naz Reid, 22% leverage. Karlo Makovic, 17%. Jose Alvarado, the 14% we just talked about. Klay Thompson, 13%. And Damian Lillard, 9% leverage here. So that is it. Your highest leverage, or your lowest leverage guys, rather, negative 17% Trey Murphy. That is one place Stokastic and I will disagree. Trey Murphy is going to be I don't know if I would say a core play, but he will absolutely be a large part of my player pool tonight. Aaron Gordon, negative 11% leverage. They're low on him. Beal, he's a Q tag anyway, but they're low on him by 10%. Spencer Dinwiddie, negative 10% leverage on him. Devin Booker, negative 9% leverage. Franz Wagner, negative 8% leverage. And Michael Porter Jr., negative 8 as well. And just out of curiosity, Jokic, they want you to get 17% leverage compared to the field's 9. So about 2x the field there, but not a big stand. They want you to get 8% more on Giannis. And on Luka, they want you to get 9% more. So Stokastic actually is with me on getting more of your high dollar guys. And I feel pretty good about that as well. I'm going to give you guys my splash plays for the day. But before I do, you guys know the deal. Last call here. Please, please, please subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment. I need to get better at promoting pretty much everything is what I'm feeling these days. And YouTube, as I've mentioned lately, makes it hard when you're growing a channel, and in particular one that doesn't have a great evergreen window. These videos are live. They have like about 1 hour of usefulness. Then the NBA ruins it with all the injuries and bullshit. So if you want to keep seeing this content, you want to help me out here as I try to build this up here as a sidecar to our Splash Play NFL channel, please subscribe down below. Please hit the like button. It does go a long way for me here. And of course, Underdog, $1,000 of bonus cash, link in the description. If you want to play some Pick'ems, Unabated, 20% off, link in the description as well. If you want to get access to all the great data and a lot more than I showed you here on screen. And Stokastic, 15% off. If they're $1 deal going for one more day, that goes to full rate tomorrow, or you just get 15% off with me now. But follow your heart. Either way, click the link in the description and go check them out right now and get some data, get some Sims tools, all that. Splash plays for the day. I mean, look, this is not a brave one, but Bull has to be one of them. So that's that. Besides that, I do like your pay up guys more than the field. I think you should be trying to get more, no matter what you get with it. More of Giannis, more of Jokic, more of Luka. I just think that's it. Even if you only get 20% of all the guys, you're above the field on all of them. So I think, well, not Giannis maybe, but you're close enough on that one. Just get those guys here, play your other lineups if you want. I think the pay up options look really good to me today. Besides that, Trey Murphy, Naz Reid, I think are very much important parts of what I'm doing. Jaden McDaniels to a lesser extent, but he'll come up a good amount. Max Christie will come up a good amount for me. I think that's it. I think that sums it up. That's probably most of what I'll be doing tonight. So make sure you gamble responsibly, guys, as we always do say here, even though it is money time on this channel. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play NBA. Back on Stokastic in about 4 minutes here. So I'll see you guys there. Enjoy your days. Good luck, and come hang with me on Stokastic now. Bye-bye.